I still remember the exact moment my world collapsed. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon when my husband looked at me across the kitchen table, residency papers still warm in his hand, and said the words that cut deeper than any knife. I don't love you anymore. I'm leaving. He had his bags packed before I could even form a sentence. What he never saw coming was everything that happened after. My name is Amira. For 7 years I poured every piece of myself into our marriage. We met in a small town where dreams felt bigger than the sky. He was chasing a better life in a new country, and I believed in him more than he believed in himself. I worked double shifts as a nurse, skipped holidays with my own family, sold my mother's jewelry, and went without so he could study for exams, pay lawyers, and finally apply for residency. Every late-night prayer, every tear I wiped away in secret, every smile I forced when the process dragged on for years, I did it because I loved him. I thought we were building a future together. The day the letter arrived, I was the first one to scream with joy. I hugged him so tightly I thought my arms would break. We danced in the living room like children. That night I cooked his favorite meal, lit candles, and whispered that all the sacrifices had been worth it. He smiled, kissed my forehead, and said, "We made it." 3 weeks later, he was gone. He didn't just leave. He erased me. He blocked my number, moved in with a woman he had been messaging for months, someone he met online while I was working nights to keep us afloat. Friends who once called me the strong one suddenly went quiet. Some whispered that I should have seen it coming. Others told me to move on quickly. The loneliness was heavier than the grief. At night I would stare at the empty side of the bed and wonder how someone could take everything I gave and still walk away without looking back. The first months were the darkest. Bills piled up. The apartment felt too big and too small at the same time. I cried in the shower so the neighbors wouldn't hear. There were days I could barely get out of bed, days when the thought of facing another sunrise felt impossible. I lost weight. I stopped answering calls from my mother because I couldn't bear the pity in her voice. I kept replaying every conversation, searching for the moment I had failed him. Was I not pretty enough? Not successful enough? Not enough? Then one ordinary morning, something shifted. I was standing in front of the mirror, eyes swollen, hair unwashed, when I whispered to my reflection, "You survived this far. You are still here." It was the smallest spark, but it was mine. That day I forced myself to go for a walk. The next day I applied for an extra shift at the hospital. The day after that I opened a notebook and wrote down everything I had lost, and everything I still had. Rebuilding was slow and ugly. There were setbacks, nights when the pain returned like a wave and knocked me under again. Moments when his name popped up on social media and my chest tightened. But I kept showing up for myself. I started therapy even when the cost made me nervous. I reconnected with old friends who had never stopped believing in me. I took online courses in healthcare administration because I refused to stay stuck in survival mode. Little by little, the woman who had once made herself small so he could shine began to stand taller. 2 years later, I walked into a promotion meeting and walked out as the new department supervisor. The same hands that once held residency paperwork for a man who discarded me were now signing off on schedules and mentoring younger nurses. I bought a small apartment with my own money. I planted a garden on the balcony, flowers that bloomed even when no one was watching. I learned to cook for one without feeling lonely. I laughed again, real laughter that came from deep inside instead of polite performance. Then, one evening, my phone rang with an unknown number. It was him. His voice was quieter than I remembered. He said the new relationship had fallen apart. He said he realized what he had thrown away. He asked if we could talk, if there was any chance left. For a moment the old ache stirred. Then I looked around my apartment, at the certificates on the wall, the sunlight on my plants, the life I had built with my own hands, and I felt something stronger than anger or sadness. I felt peace. I told him the truth gently but firmly. You left when you thought you no longer needed me. I stayed when I thought I still needed you. We both learned something. I learned I never needed anyone who could walk away so easily. I hope you find what you're looking for, but it will not be me. He never saw that coming. He never imagined the woman he abandoned would become stronger without him. He never expected the quiet nurse who once sacrificed everything to become a woman who finally chose herself. If you are listening to this and your heart is broken, if someone walked away after you gave them everything, please hear me, their leaving does not define your worth. The pain is real, the nights are long, but you are still here. And as long as you are still here, the story is not over. You can rebuild. You can bloom in places they never thought to look. Your comeback does not need their permission. If this story touched something inside you, if it reminded you that you are stronger than the people who left, please give this video a like. It helps more hearts find these words. And if you want more stories of quiet strength and second chances, subscribe and turn on the notifications. You never know whose story might give you the courage to keep going. You are not alone, and your best chapters are still waiting to be written.